the earthly side of me wants to destroy those people. The selfish side of me wants to see them suffer and go through a tenth of what they've put these children through, because it's such a miscarriage of justice for children, the most innocent on the planet, that don't deserve or ask for any of that. But my bigger, greater goal is, I want to pull that kid back to a path of restoration where they are back on the right path and they don't become, I kind of call them jerk magnets. We see these people who are kind of live in dysfunction their whole lives, and everything around them just attracts jerks and they get mistreated. And so I want to empower a kid to know this doesn't define you. There's something bigger for you.
Fire and water me, going down deep. Sing, oh, oh, bury me, carry me, oh, oh, far beneath, oh, oh, fire and water me, watching me sing, give me sing, free, yeah. Oh, give me sing, free, down to the river. Down to the river.
You know, of all the locations that we could have chosen, we went with a pretty one that happens to be outdoors in the middle of the beautiful city of Fort Worth, which is alive and bustling today. So I'm going to ask, we'll talk a little bit about grace in this episode, but I'm going to ask for your grace as we deal with everything from protesters to helicopters to trains to maybe a comet is going to land in the middle. I don't know. Let's dive in.
Yeah, I'm Greg. I'm the co-host of Sheepdog and Shepherd. I pastor the first responder ministry at the Church of 1122, and I chaplain for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
So we have found in our time traveling the country that God has done amazing things through the hands of the men and women who serve and protect our communities in our country. And so we love helping share some of those stories. So brother, why don't you tell everybody who you are?
Well, I'm Tony Godwin. I'm a detective with the Garland Police Department here in Texas. It's about 45 minutes to an hour to the east of us. I've been in law enforcement total for almost 35 years. I did 5 years in the military working as a cop, and then I came out and I've been with Garland for about 31 years. I work on a very specific crime type. I'm on the North Texas Internet Crimes Against Children Taskforce. I often joke in trainings I do that I'm the hottest 12-year-old kid online. Because I work in that undercover capacity in order to have someone who's got a propensity for kids to find me versus a real kid. And so that has sort of chewed up about 20 years of my 31 with Garland. My tie to the ceremony tonight is I was very humbled and honored to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2023 for career achievement. A lot of it really stemmed off of a really big international case that I had, but it had some other things that were going on with it. And then in 2024, later 2024, Megan and Adam asked me to be on the board of directors. And that's really my focus now. Help them grow this thing, help them expand this thing as big and beautiful as possible. And selfishly, I'd love to see it continue right here in Texas.
100%. I mean, I was inducted last year as their Civilian of the Year, and man, it was one of the greatest honors.
I was there.
One of the greatest honors of my life. Oh, so you remember the horrible Crocodile Dundee hat.
I remember the Crocodile Dundee hat. Matter of fact, I made your award because I have a little thing on the side I've been doing the last 20 years. And
that's awesome, man.
And after I got inducted, I went to Adam and Megan and was like, hey, tell me about the awards, because they were very different looking before. And she's like, well, it's just what we do. And I said, would you allow me to do this? And I just do it for nothing. It's not about that at all. I just wanted it to be like boom, in your face.
Man, they're stunning.
And so you were the first class to get those awards, which I'm really proud of.
I love it. It is on the whiskey wall.
Nice.
Where, for those of you who have never seen that show before, we do a series called Behind the Uniforms, where we invite active and retired emergency responders and veterans. We bring a bottle of whiskey to the whiskey wall. We share a cocktail. They tell you a story about a good day on the job and a lousy day on the job, and then
Nice.
The name goes on the bottle and the bottle goes on the wall. So lots of cops and vets that don't drink anymore.
Yep.
And so they'll bring some other kind of tribute. We had an officer who beat cancer 4 times.
Wow.
And after the 4th time he beat cancer, he decided he was going to hike to the top of Mount Everest.
Holy
And so
moly.
we have a photo of him and his team at the base camp, and a rock from the top of the mountain that he brought back.
Wow.
So we've got some really cool stuff.
That's probably
on
the
there.
coolest thing I've ever heard.
It's
That
just
is
a wall
awesome.
of stories, and obviously being in Texas, it's like the whiskey capital of the world,
Yeah.
regardless of what anybody says.
Yeah, if not barbecue, there's definitely a lot of whiskey. that
Whiskey and
happens here.
barbecue, man.
Tell me about your podcast.
So a partner of mine who I trained to do the ICAC job, his name's Brandon Poor. He works for a local agency here for Grand Prairie PD. He and I talked many times about like how do we get word out about the work that we do. Every time we go to a training, we're telling stories. And actually, my brother, who's a retired Las Vegas Metro cop, was like, "Why don't you do a podcast?" And at the time, I was like, "I don't even know what a podcast is." Like, I'd never even listened to one. And so I started researching. And I called Brandon. And I was like, "Hey, man, this is what I'm thinking. You want to jump off the ledge and try this?" And it was right at COVID, and so we did. I told my wife, I was like, "Hey, I'm about to go spend some money and buy some equipment and try to figure this out." And we're 5 years into this now. It's a heavy topic. It's got a lot of content with it, but we also have a real heavy side to training and awareness and education. And that's what's really vital for us to get that message off to parents and, other cops, other people in the profession to keep kids safe, because that's really what we do.
Tell our viewers what it's called.
It's called Catfish Cops, and we've got a whole bunch of resources on there. Anything's open, wide open to the public, whoever wants it. If you don't know anything about third-party applications or settings, or just have questions in general, we have just go to catfishcops.com/resources, and you can take anything off of there that you like, and just be intentional with the kids. Just have those conversations now
Awesome.
before things get out of hand.
Spectacular. So Catfish Cops and the work that you're doing has led to another opportunity that you were out here filming. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in 2021 at a conference, we met a guy who was really like spun up on our podcast and the logo and all of that goes with it. And he kind of approached us about doing a project with him. And in the beginning, I was just like, okay, sure, sounds great, pie in the sky kind of stuff. And it was in the terms of like a documentary. And it kind of fizzled a little in the beginning, but then in 22, 23, in 23, it really grew some legs, really started picking up. And then in early 24, we filmed, I don't know what the term is, a pilot, a sizzle, a reel, something. And it was generally like a 15-minute tryout or whatever. I don't know what they call it. And then a pretty big channel reviewed it, sent it out to some kind of test audience, and it showed well. And so they've picked it up. It's been, I think the term I was told is called commissioned. And so now we're literally in the mix of this going on. I can't really get too in the weeds about it because of what they've kind of held me under, but it's been great. It's a whole new experience. It's the people that are doing it told me like, you'll never look at a TV show the same way again, kind of a thing. And I'm like, boy, that's the truth. It's a little out of my comfort zone, but it's fun.
So I've got to ask the kind of uncomfortable question here. So I've been on the board of advisors for a county human trafficking organization for the last 10 years, Deliver Fund, actually headquartered out of here in Dallas.
I know Deliver Fund.
And great group. The beautiful plot twist here is that they took over the headquarters of Backpage.com after they helped the Fed shut down Backpage.
I remember that time well.
Kind of neat. But one of the things that I've heard from countless officers who specialize in this arena is that it is mentally, physically, spiritually exhausting. It leads to rapid burnout because you're seeing the worst depravity in the world. How do you navigate that?
I will tell you, because I literally had this conversation yesterday with a guy. I'm trying to find a new guy to come in and or gal, that has the sort of mental fortitude to handle it. And my first bit of advice to them was, go talk to your wife and have a conversation, because this job will change you. This specific job, the mental acuity it takes to maintain your composure and all of the things that you see, you're never going to unsee the depravity that you do see. So for me personally, I'm very grounded in my faith. I'm very grounded with my family. I'm very grounded in having a life outside of law enforcement. So, I own an awards business that I just kind of started as a whim. I do a bunch of woodworking. I do a bunch of metalworking. I'm kind of a creative-y type guy, and I like to just sacrifice boards and build furniture. And so for me, that's like my decompression time. I won't lie. I have seen things that have caused me to seek out help professionally, and I am not ashamed of that on any level, because it really helped me navigate the waters and kind of figure out a way to disconnect from that. And because of the duration I have in this career, this is my 20th year in ICAC alone, and I'm like one of 5 people in the country, I think, that have had that sort of time frame, because the majority, it just doesn't go that far. That 3-4 years in, it's like, okay, time for me to go catch burglars or do whatever. But it's a bigger thing for me. It's just part of my DNA, and I feel uniquely blessed to be able to compartmentalize things, because my goal is the bigger, better prize: saving kids, putting people away that are never going to hurt another kid. That's my passion.
Amen.
We talked a little bit about the mental health aspect of that particular job. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the ICAC unit at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, it's the only unit that's required to see mental health counselors multiple times a year.
Yeah, on the state side and municipality side, a few departments are kind of moving in that direction, which is fantastic. Because when I came into law enforcement a long time ago, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, you didn't talk about those kind of things. Like, it was like, rub some dirt on it, get it back out there, suck your thumb, and go back. And the mindset of it now is tremendously changed. It's grown exponentially. Federally, they have that already in place. The people that work this kind of crime type are required annually to go, and I'm a huge proponent of it. I really think it's great.
You mentioned your faith. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that and how that helps carry you through your job?
Man, let me tell you, I did not grow up in a religious family. I did not grow up going to church. If I was ever in a church growing up, somebody died or somebody was getting married. And at the end of the day, I didn't lead a great life growing up, even though I've been in the law enforcement world a very long time. But when I got married, my wife was like, hey, this is part of my life, and I will be a part of this, and our kids will be a part of this. And so, I just was like, well, yeah, of course I want my kids to grow up in this. Of course I want to know about this. But I was like 28 years old when I walked into a church, just by a fluke and by a happenstance. A guy asked me, hey, what's going to happen to you if you die? And I said, they're going to put me in the ground. But it's a little odd story behind it. I did go to a church. I joined a church over in Rockwall, and I was attending a little group after the service, which, is always a unique thing. I've never even experienced anything like that. And it was kind of cool, and everything was hip, and I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. But after a couple of weeks, I got invited to this social thing with the group, and my wife and I did. And it was a 1980s party. And so everybody's like, oh, we're going to put the leggings on. We're going to do the leg warmers and headbands and wristbands and all that stuff. And everybody brings a little food. Well, we go to this event. And at this event, I meet a guy, never seen him before, never talked to him. And we talked for hours, music and cars and just all kinds of stuff, and a really cool guy. And then following week later, the pastor that ran that group calls me, hey, can you come to lunch? Go to lunch. And he tells me, hey, you remember that guy? And I was like, I remember talking to him. And he's like, do you know? I said, oh, I met him that night and everything. And he's like, well, he knows you. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, yeah, we just met. And he's like, no, he knows you from work. And I'm like, uh-oh, like, where are we going with this? And he's like, well, he wants to meet you and he wants to talk to you, but he's kind of scared to death. And so it turns out he had a little bit of a past, not a good past. And we crossed paths, and I put him in jail a few times. And it was a weird moment for me. Like, it was a weird, as far as spiritually goes, I was like, everything happens for a reason. And I'm like, why is God putting me in this room with this guy who I've had some encounters with, one of which was not a great situation for him, but he did. And we talked, we met, and maybe 6-8 months later, we got baptized together, and
Wow.
we're still friends to this day. And so it really makes you know that it's real.
For sure.
To me, that was it for me,
Yeah.
and I've been all in ever since.
Yeah. I live an interesting dichotomy myself in my work career. Actually, it's more than a work career. It's my life. So part of my job at the church that I work for is I pastor our prison campuses,
Mm-hmm.
as well as I pastor our first responder ministry.
Right.
So part of my work week is spending time in men's state prisons.
Yep.
And then part of my work week is ministering to first responders.
It's
And so,
wild how that happens,
yeah.
right?
So tell me how do I balance the scales of justice in understanding that men on death row who have committed horrendous crimes,
Yeah.
or the men that I minister to in chapels every Monday who've committed these sex crimes against children,
Right.
are on equal footing with the guys that are out there putting men in jail.
Yeah.
But they're only on equal footing at the foot of the cross, right?
Right. Yep.
That's the only place we're standing on equal footing.
That's it.
You know?
That's the only equal ground there is.
That's it.
And I think it's an evolution to get to that space in your life. And cops tend to be really super cynical and leery and crazy, weird about things. But when something super impactful like that happens, it's like life changing, and you really look at the world in a different lens than when you did before.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you go through this journey as a believer and not want to just destroy people?
Well, the earthly side of me wants to destroy those people. The selfish side of me wants to see them suffer and go through a tenth of what they've put these children through, because it's such a miscarriage of justice for children, the most innocent on the planet, that don't deserve or ask for any of that. But my bigger, greater goal is I want to pull that kid back to a path of restoration where they are back on the right path and they don't become, I kind of call them jerk magnets. We see these people who are kind of live in dysfunction their whole lives, and everything around them just attracts jerks, and they get mistreated. And so I want to empower a kid to know this doesn't define you. There's something bigger for you. And obviously I want that to go down a Christian path. Obviously, that's my goal. It's not always an easy sell with some of the people we encounter or the kids we encounter, but that's the important part for me.
What's been one of the most difficult experiences you've had and one of the most rewarding?
Well, some of the most difficult, I think, was it stems around the case that I actually was nominated into the Hall of Fame for. It's an international case. There's a bunch of tragedy behind it. And while it ended up in a good way with the person being caught and convicted and in prison, it had a really tragic twist on the victim side that did not work out. And I tend to take that like personally, because I feel like I'm so invested in that, and I'm so invested in this kid and this family. And so that was a hard sell, because in one sense you want to have a high five moment of like, damn, I got that guy, all the way over in the UK. Like, who does that? No city cop is doing that. But then when you drag in the reality, it's like, there comes this sacrifice with this kid. I think my best, if we're talking best ever in the whole wide world kind of thing, I'm saying it's my wife and kids. Like, they are what sustain me. They are my why I do this job. Sometimes I beat myself up about things I've missed, or events I miss, or things that go by and I can't go, or a game or whatever. But they still stand behind me no matter what. And not everybody can say that.
I know.
So,
We often talk about wanting justice so desperately, And the reality of that is when we scream for justice, we're actually screaming for justice for all.
Sure.
And when we think about justice, if we're demanding justice for everybody or for that person, we
Right.
have to recognize that we demand justice for ourselves as well. And
I
the
agree.
truth of that is, if we demand justice, we have to recognize that we're going to get what we deserve, and what we deserve is death, because the payment for sin is death, right?
Right.
And so if we're asking for grace and mercy, which is what Jesus offers on the cross, it's really difficult to ask for justice for that guy,
Mm-hmm.
but then want and expect grace and mercy for ourselves.
Yeah.
So there's a really tough balance when it comes to a lot of believers in the law enforcement community that are fighting for justice, and then how
Yeah.
they have to deal with the grace and mercy side of their faith. Does any of that resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's very well said, actually, because that is like that internal struggle. And I almost felt cheated of not being able to grow up at an early age to understand more. But on the flip side of it, learning all of that and getting into a relationship with Jesus as an adult really gave me maybe an advantage, because I was so invested. I was hearing these things and I saw these things immediately that was like, wow, like this is like totally legit. Like I'm on board, but then I just couldn't feed that enough. And so you tend to just dive in, and that's the kind of guy I am. I'm a heads first kind of guy and toes up. But there is that internal struggle, that internal balance. I have questioned some of my mentors in this walk, like, how much grace is there?
Yeah.
You know, like how much? Because I'm like I'm dipping low into the pool here, and I'm always told in return, there's more than enough.
For
His
sure.
grace is sufficient. He's there for you.
Yeah.
And but we, in our earthly ways, we tend to overthink ourselves, and we internalize, and we are selfish. And sometimes we just need to learn to die to self a little bit.
For sure. I tell a lot of the younger guys that we work with in the agencies that, you can still have justice, because it comes where the justice comes from is actually the consequences for your sin.
Yeah.
So you can still have grace and mercy,
Sure.
but you still have to suffer the consequences for your actions.
Well put, sir. Well put.
Well, brother, very grateful for having you on the show, man.
Thank you so much,
for
man.
coming
I'm
out.
super honored. I am grateful for the opportunity and the time. I know you guys got a lot of moving parts going on here, especially with this week. So
It's been a busy week. We started the week down on the border in Arizona with Art Del Cueto. He's on our board of advisors. He's
Nice.
the national spokesman and national vice president for the National Border Patrol Council. Then we headed over to Pinal County. You got to do a ride along with Frank.
Yeah.
Fridays
that's cool.
with Frank, and we went up to Phoenix. We filmed with the ICE director. Then we filmed with Tom Holman, and then came over here. And it's been a journey, but we exist at law enforcement today in Blue Lives Matter to tell the stories of the men and women who hold that thin blue line, who selflessly serve our communities and our country every single day. But we serve God first, country second. And so for those of you who are watching this show on pray.com, largest faith-based app in the world, thank you. Just know that every donation goes to support all of the travel and the production costs of telling these stories. We don't make a penny off of this. It all goes directly into that fund. So thank you for sharing. Thanks for praying for the men and women who hold the thin blue line every single day. Thanks for reposting this video. God bless you all. God bless America.
There's one part of almost every building that intruders target first: the glass. Even $1 million in locks and cameras won't matter if someone can break through a window in seconds. Our 15 mm security laminate reinforces your glass, buying you time when every second counts. Whether at home, at school, or on the job, if keeping your people and property safe is your priority, this is something you can't afford to overlook. Call today for your free security consultation. And to make things even better, on any project over 250 square feet, we'll donate $1,000 in additional laminate, because your safety matters to us.